Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming, the new show where we cover all things FPS. Thanks to the Battlefield 1 community test environment, we've been getting some hands-on time with the game's first DLC, They Shall Not Pass. Battlefield 1 Premium owners can get into servers running the DLC content on the CTE right now. 3 of the 4 maps have been added to play in Conquest mode, so players can get in there, test them out, see if the balance is working out, and we can also test out the 6 new unlockable weapons. It's been quite a lot of fun to play so far, and it's also been a good platform for giving feedback to the developers, considering that not all the maps are perfectly balanced as it currently stands, but there's still some time before the DLC comes out officially. I've been covering the DLC this week with a guide on the new Behemoth and some weapon reviews, so check that out and stay tuned for more. The second CTE patch has also nerfed grenades in an attempt to reduce grenade spam. Smoke, gas, and mini grenade ammo has all been reduced from 2 to 1, and ammo pouches no longer resupply grenades. Suppression from friendly gas grenades has also been reduced, and while these changes seem generally pretty good, others are a little more questionable. Anti-aircraft cannons have gotten a 50% damage reduction against fighter and attack planes, and 40% reduction against bombers. And although these changes do seem extreme, I've already shot down quite a few aircraft using the anti-aircraft cannons. The problem is that expert pilots might be able to take a little bit more advantage of this new balance situation. The change makes it so that if you accidentally fly near an anti-aircraft cannon, it's less of a guaranteed death and more of a deterrent that forces you away, which is kind of what I think they're meant to be. A bad pilot might get shot down by them, and a good pilot might be able to squeak out of there within inches of their life. The weird thing about Battlefield 1 is that infantry players can actually inflict quite a bit of damage on fighter planes and attack planes, but none of them really seem to group up together and take them down. A squad of infantry could easily disable or destroy a fighter or attack plane on one pass, but people just don't really seem to work together. So I feel like if infantry can kind of get the message across that shooting at aircraft doing strafing runs is actually really effective, then we might have some better anti-air deterrents. A combination of the recently nerfed anti-aircraft cannons and infantry weapons should be enough to take down just about any aircraft, but like many things in Battlefield, it is a team effort. Now, in other DLC news, Titanfall 2 got a huge update this week, adding the new Live Fire game mode, 2 maps specific to that game mode, and a laundry list of patch notes. The patch includes everything from nerfs and buffs to reworked settings on PC and quality of life improvements for loadout selection. As for the new game mode, it's basically a no respawn King of the Hill mode. It's also a pilots only mode, so no Titans will be stomping around to ruin your day. I need more time with it to have a real opinion, but so far it seems like a solid game mode, and having maps designed for this mode is pretty cool. This actually reminds me a bit of the 2v2 face-off maps from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. The maps were designed to cater to specific game modes, and they worked really well because of that. In our last bit of DLC news, The Division is getting its final expansion this coming Tuesday. Last Stand brings with it a wave of defense game modes and the next major patch for the game, 1.6. The patch is another big overhaul of the game's core mechanics and should help everything just feel a little bit more in place and fun in this giant world. It's been a long time since I sat down and dedicated some time to The Division, and I'm not expecting this expansion or patch to totally change my opinion on the game, but I would definitely like to revisit the final state of The Division and see how it compares to when I first started playing it. And while things are going well for many multiplayer games, this week has not been particularly kind to the melee brawler For Honor. Its use of peer-to-peer matchmaking has been the source of several major issues for many players. Relying on players to host matches means if the host leaves the game, a new player must be selected as the host, and the game doesn't always pick the best host, or sometimes doesn't pick a host at all. There's also a bunch of issues with lag and your game syncing up properly to what the other players are actually seeing, so discrepancy issues. The unfortunate thing is when For Honor is working right, it's a pretty fantastic game. Hopefully Ubisoft can get a handle on the matchmaking issues soon. When it's running smoothly, it's pretty easy to forget and just enjoy the game as is, but when they start popping up, it's pretty much impossible to ignore them. The open world 4-player co-op shooter Ghost Recon Wildlands also had some issues at the start of its open beta this week. Most of the issues were due to the servers being slammed by everyone trying to play it hours within launch, which is to be expected. Despite the server issues and some gameplay bugs, it seems like players are enjoying the game. Funny enough, people seem to be drawing a lot of comparisons between Ghost Recon Wildlands and The Division. They're both third-person shooters in fairly large open-world environments, but having played both of them pretty extensively now, I can say that the two games are pretty darn different. The realistic damage model in Ghost Recon Wildlands, allowing you to drop NPC characters within a few shots, sets it way apart from The Division, which has that bullet sponge-like effect. Not to mention Wildlands seems to have a world that might be 20 times larger than what The Division offers. In other upcoming game news, reviewers got some hands-on time with Mass Effect Andromeda this week, and it sounds like fans of the franchise will have a lot to look forward to. Highlights include the characters in the game living up to the franchise's history of great NPCs and a story that seems like it's worth sticking around for. BioWare have been very tight-lipped about the actual story of Andromeda this time around. A lot of people are really wondering what direction this universe is going to take, and it seems like we're really just going to have to wait for the actual launch of the game. Also, this week, reviewers got some hands-on time with Nintendo's upcoming mobile and home gaming console, the Switch. Despite some issues with the wireless controllers dropping their connection to the console, it sounds like Nintendo have really nailed the experience of the convertible console. The transition from portable to docked gaming is seamless, and at least in Zelda's case, it doesn't have an impact on the way the game plays. With hardware concerns mostly out of the way, it's really on Nintendo to deliver some compelling games for the Switch. Early impressions of the new Zelda game are quite positive, but that's to be expected. Zelda is kind of a big deal for Nintendo and just gamers in general. Third-party titles are where Nintendo has always struggled, so hopefully the Switch has something to offer besides Nintendo's great hits. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.